Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Neelay Patel here in our Choose Your Own Adventure workshop. I am your design educator, owner of Silver Silk, and all things behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and everything in between with Silver Silk. I consider myself a one-person store and do everything from product procurement, really product creation, if you want to take it a step further, all the way to shipping, and everything is packaged by yours truly. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for supporting my store. If you do want to do some light shopping with Silver Silk or like any of the products that you see, you can hit up silversilkonline.com. I'm really excited about today's project. We're going to be making the Rose Rock necklace. I found these materials at a show, and I've had them for a little while, and I thought, you know what, I need to break them out and do them into a kit. The season for these might be what I would call, I guess, more of a transitional look, because I'm using something that's of mustards and burgundy colors. So for me, it kind of is reminiscent of late summer and early fall, whenever those colors really do come into play. But I just really love the intricacy of the ceramic stone that we're going to be using as a pendant. And then just to kind of add a little bit more extra flair and flavor, I thought it'd be great to just add in a pearl and then a cute little drop at the bottom of the necklace. So here's what it looks like. Let me give you a quick sneak peek. And I would love nothing more than to get straight into the project. So if you have picked up a kit or want to, this is what it will look like. When you unbaggy everything, that's when you can kind of really dig into your materials there. So immediately, as I mentioned, I do have a little pearl here. For me, pearls, I tend to not use them as much. Fair, point there. But I still love them. I think they have a great, almost a neutral material about them. They can kind of work with anything. So in this case, I wanted to just add a little bit of that beautiful pearlescent sheen to this, because I'm using something that is a little bit more rough and, I don't know, a little bit more textured to offset that particular aspect of this pendant. I wanted to soften it with the pearl, and just adds a little bit of intricacy to your design. So these two materials are included in your kit. The Rose Rock is a little bit different from kit to kit, so you might not get the same one or the exact one that you see here. It'll have a little bit of variation in color and its print on it. But it does have this cool rose pattern, or just a really organic and fluid pattern on it, which I simply adore and thought it would make an excellent pendant. You also get a little drop, a little bauble, and I think this little component definitely complements the stone in a wonderful way. Again, continuing with that great texture as you see here, but also just the color of that mustard and kind of bringing that back down from where the focal is, and then you hit sort of a break with the pearl because it's so pure and white, and then back down to the mustard. So there is a very purposeful and intentional gradation with those colors as they are sort of in this format. You get a clasp set, and then you get some wire. This is 22 gauge in silver, and really you just need about a foot. You don't need very much to complete this design. So I just included a pretty good piece of wire here for you guys. And then you get 3 feet of this beautiful shimmering rose pearlesque chain. You may recognize this from my current clearance sale. So you can still grab this while it's still there. But the clearance tab does disappear this Friday. So if I were you, I would hurry up and definitely do some light shopping there. You can get some great discount deals on the Silver Silk chains. But this has a rainbow tinsel running through it. So it's a ball chain core that has a rainbow tinsel knitted over it as the first layer. And then the second layer is the dark rose colored wire. So you get a metallic and a rainbow flash layering happening with your capture chain. Um, or in this case, a Pearlesque chain. And so it's just a very multi-layered, very sparkly chain to use in your design. And I thought this would be a really great complement to not only just the mustard color because they are complementary colors of each other, but also the sparkle kind of complements the pearl and its sheen. So it just made for a really good addition to this design. I have included all 3 foot as a spool. You get a full spool of it. But really, for this project, you just need as much as what you want your necklace rope to be. So in this case, I believe I cut about 24 inches or 2 feet of it for, I don't know, maybe about a 18-inch necklace, give or take. And that just kind of sits, right where your heart is. But if you wanted it longer, then you can just, cut off as much as you need to. The clasp is going to be up front in this design. So just keep that in mind as you're sort of measuring this out. You can kind of just wrap it around and see where it feels good to you, and then just simply cut it off. And then you will have leftover if you wanted to make a bracelet or something extra with it. You can always do a couple pair of earrings. Just something to match your design is always welcomed, right? I do have a couple of seed beads. You'll need these for the ends of our larger pendant because the hull is so big, and we're going to do some light wire wrapping. And then a few jump rings, and then of course my single strand silver end caps. These are a custom end cap made for Pearlesque and capture chain. These end caps have little teeth inside of the channel that grasp onto the ball chain core of each of these types of chains. You can read more about this in the Silver Silk Education tab in the silversilkonline.com menu. There's a lot of different lessons and principles to follow when using Silver Silk, so you may want to check it out as a place of resource and information on the website. So simply to use these, you put your end cap into the channel. Excuse me, your silver silk chain into the end cap channel, and then you can use a pair of wide nose pliers. Mine are dipped in a product called Tool Magic to give them a silicone rubber coating. And then you simply just press the end cap together to close up the seam right over the chain, and that's what keeps it secure. You don't need any glue or any other special tools to make this work. I'll demonstrate for that a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and put this stuff away because I've got a kit that's already opened that I'm going to use to put this all together. It really takes no time and is a great beginner level project, especially if you're new to using Silver Silk. I think this is going to be an ideal project for you to start with. Okay, let's begin with wire wrapping or making some wire wrap loops for our pendant here. I'm going to grab my ceramic pendant. I'm going to grab my 2 little size 6 seed beads, and I'm going to string all of my wire up through my pendant there, and I'm going to string on a seed bead as well. So I'm going to be using the entirety of the wire just on this first part. This is only so I don't waste a lot of it whenever I'm trying to configure my other elements. I like to use as much as I can in my design just to save and be thoughtful of my materials. So what I'm going to do is grab my round nose pliers, and I'm going to just turn my wire away from me so that it is now positioned at a 90-degree angle bend as such. I've got about 2.5 inches of extra wire up there, and I'm going to position my pliers just at the angle that I've created. And with making these type of loops, the further you are into your pliers and you decide to position it, that's how big your loop will be. We will be using a variated size for attaching to our clasp. So in this case, what I'm going to do is actually go on the bigger size, and my loop will end up becoming big enough to just slip in my toggle clasp, which is what I'll need to do. So I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to just turn it toward me all the way. And then whenever I get to a point where I can't turn anymore because my other side of my pliers is in the way, I'm going to reposition it by letting go and then just slipping it up into that bottom part of my plier mandrel there. And I'm going to continue to get my wire back into the position that I had it earlier at a 90-degree angle bend. So really it just curves right around the round part of my round nose pliers. Okay, you can kind of let it go and just take a gander at it and make sure that it is positioned well, that it is still making a 90-degree angle bend, and that you have a nice circle there that looks very concise and even. Then what I'm going to do is grab my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to just lift up ever so slightly. I'm going to go ahead and put in my toggle clasp. So this element is going to be hanging from the round part of my toggle clasp. So I want to make sure that that's in there. The size of this loop is probably about 4, maybe 4.5 millimeters, just FYI. You don't have to measure it so tediously, but as long as it's big enough for your toggle clasp to comfortably fit in there and to move around just a little bit, then you're in really good shape. I'm going to grasp both pieces of wire at the same time just by grasping it at the bottom there. And this wire is just below the nose of my chain nose pliers, so it's a little bit more free. But what the idea here is that I'm going to use that to wrap and coil around the stem of my loop here. So I'm just going to grab it with my round nose pliers and use that as my fingers. And I'm just going to wrap a few times. I'd say probably about 3 is good enough. And I've got a nice, very secure, coil there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that right off. If you have a little piece of wire that's sticking out at the end, it's kind of hard to see on camera because it's so tiny. And in this case, I kind of do because I can feel it with my finger. I'm just going to go back and press it in with my chain nose pliers and make sure that it's not sticking up. The last thing we want it to do is poke us, right? So that looks really good to me, and I'm just going to scooch all of my elements up now. And I'm going to repeat the same steps on the other side, but I don't need to attach anything. And I can make my loop a little bit smaller too. So let's do this. I've got a little bit of a kink here that I'm actually just going to cheat and cut off. Whoops. Okay, we'll slide that right down. Now this side's going to be a little bit trickier because I want everything to be nice and taut and, you know, that there's no gaps or anything showing. So I just scooch everything down to the best of my ability and kind of just hold it with my finger. And then I'm going to grasp it with my plier. I don't need to be too far into my pliers. I just need to be at probably about, I don't know, to where I have a couple millimeters of gap there. So I'm at the tip of my pliers. In other words, I'm making this fairly close to a smaller, discrete wire wrapping here at the bottom, so I don't want too much space. So I just went ahead and bent that right across so that I get my 90-degree angle bend in my piece there. And then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and apply the same steps as before. The only difference is that I'm going to be making a smaller loop, so I won't be too far into my plier. I'm going to just work with the tip there. Okay, so same thing, just bend it back toward me, switch sides on your plier, and then wrap it back up. Okay, in this case, I'm not really attaching anything because I'm going to attach my pearl just a little bit later. So I'm going to grasp that loop with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to just wrap around and around until I get close to that seed bead. Might take a few wraps to get there, but you can get there, and looks like I did. So that looks really good, and it's nice and tight, holding everything in place. So I'm just going to trim that right off and make sure that there's no wire sticking out, which I don't believe there was. Sometimes whenever you cut stuff at an angle, it'll kind of just fix itself. And in this case, that's kind of what I did. So what I need to do is make sure that all of this stuff is kind of aligned in the same way. I'm just going to make sure that my loops are facing the same direction. So if this is sort of not facing toward me, that it is on its side, I want to make sure that my loop over here is as well on its side too. So that looks really good to me. I'm just going to set that component to the side there. And now we can do some work to our pearl. So same steps as before. We can kind of assess this the same way. I'm just going to give myself a 90-degree angle bend. This is a really great project for fundamentals, especially because wire wrap loops, you kind of just do with everything in jewelry making. And so this is going to be a really good piece to practice with. Okay, bend it back toward me and then finish out the loop. I'm making the rest of my loops pretty small. I just needed to make the one big loop to be able to fit on the toggle clasp there. Before I secure my loop and wire wrap it, I want to pass it through my loop that I made before. Okay, I might have to open it up just a little bit. My pearl is going to roll all over my table until I tame it. Okay, there we go. There's nothing worse than an untamed pearl, you guys. Nothing worse. Or untamed beads, really. How many of us really have beads all over the table that roll around constantly? I mean, come on. Until they're in a design, they're just going to be wild, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wire wrap this around. I love these wire wrap loops because they are so secure. I can definitely guarantee that this piece won't come apart because it is secured by that wire wrapped aspect of it. So go back in, make sure that this is nice and closed. All right, so now we can string on our our pearl. So in the example picture, which let me flash that up again, we have a little bit of wire wrapping action that happens on top of the pearl. So this just gives it a little bit more extra pizzazz. And of course, we love ourselves some extra. And I'm going to add that in. I just realized I think I attached this one with a jump ring. So you can do that too. You've got extra jump rings in your kit if you wanted to make all small pearls. In this case, I just skipped a step and directly attached my loop to the toggle clasp. So there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's just however you want to do it. There's plenty of supplies in the kit for you. Okay, same thing here. I'm just going to grasp that, give myself a 90-degree angle bend. Go ahead and switch to my round nose pliers, put it into my corner there, wrap this toward myself, switch sides, and finish out my loop there. Now, before I close up my loop, this is a point where I can attach my little bauble. So I'm just going to slide that right on. Okay, and then I'm going to finish out my loop while everything is held in place. Now, I'm not going to trim my wire at this point, only because this is where I can do some wire wrapped action with my design. So what I'm going to do is actually grip my coils with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to just grab kind of away from my pearl. I'm just going to grab it like maybe 6 inches or so away from the pearl, and I'm going to just casually here and sort of loosely wire wrap it around the pearl. This will conform to the pearl as you kind of loosely wrap it. As you can see, it's not forced, it doesn't feel forced, and it feels organic, and it'll just have the best shape ever. So I recommend doing that and not pressing it against the pearl as you're doing it. When you do get to the top, this is a little bit, this is probably where it gets a little bit tedious, because you have to kind of grip this and try and coil it right above the pearl while balancing out the weight. So maybe if you grab it without any pliers and just start to kind of curl it in, it'll start to wrap around the base of your simple loop there. And I think to make things easier, I'm just going to trim the rest of this off. When you get a couple of loops, though, it goes much easier, and you can kind of just wrap it around there. And then you can kind of manipulate this as you need to. So that looks really good to me. It's not forced. I've got secured up there and down here. And I think at this point, I can definitely just cut this off. Again, just cut it off at an angle. It'll be easier to fold in as you need to. And boom, that's pretty much all it takes to get that done. Really cool and easy. And now we can kind of attach the rest of our design together. So I'll need the other half of my toggle. You'll just need the piece that you cut for the length of your necklace of the chain. And then your 2 end caps, and then 2 of your jump rings. Okay, so let's revisit attaching our end cap. So I'm just gonna go ahead and feed that right through the channel. And if it helps any to be able to crimp with this, what you can do, because the end caps can sometimes come a little closed. So I just grab a pair of tapered chain nose pliers. In this case, my crimpers are perfect for this. And I just press my plier apart a little bit to open up the end cap. So press against the handles, and you don't want to go too crazy. You just want to be able to open it up 1 millimeter or 2, and that makes such a huge difference for feeding the silver silk into it and making it much easier to work with. So I think I did that earlier with this one. Okay, I'm going to grab my wide nose pliers, and I'm just going to give it a good squeeze. Make sure that my seam there is nice and closed. Beautiful. If you have a little piece of wire sticking out from the end cap, what you can do is just grab your cutters and just trim it right off. No big deal. Okay, same thing on this side. Just gonna kind of pinch in the ends if you need to get it nice and bundled up. Stick in your end cap at the end. Grab your wide nose pliers and squeeze. I feel like I'm doing exercises sometimes. I guess jewelry making exercises, right? Okay, that looks really good to me. And so now I could just use my jump rings to attach everything. So I'm gonna not use my fingers and do this the right way. I'm gonna grab 2 chain nose pliers and pry this apart from each other. You're pulling opposite on the ends rather than away. So just pull one out and pull one in. Okay, attach your items. If you wanted to attach additional baubles to your toggle clasp, I think that would be really cool personally. Don't be limited by the kit. The kit is just there to get you started, but you can absolutely have additional dangles, additional beads in the same way that we made this, just kind of dangling off that. The weight of this will keep it nice and, symmetrical whenever you're wearing it. And okay, so we're just gonna attach this one. Okay, grab it and then just make those 2 ends kiss. If you have a little bit of a gap, just work it back and forth and push against it until you feel those 2 seams or those 2 ends of the jump ring kind of come together, and you'll see that the seam has just closed up nice and tight there. That's what we want. And then basically your necklace is finished because that toggle will just add part of the design aesthetic to the centerpiece of your pendant here. And you have got a very beautiful statement piece to wear at the end of summer and the beginning of fall. So nothing to this design. It's so easy and clever to make. And again, there are a few kits left for this. If you do want to grab one, you can absolutely do that. I am just going to read back through a few of these comments to make sure I didn't miss anything in this particular tutorial, and just say hi to some friends out here. So we have Miss Joyce Trowbridge, And she is saying that that wire added around the pearl looks awesome. Love this detail. Thank you, Joyce. That's very sweet of you to say. Always appreciate your wonderful comments. And then Cindy says, wow, such a beautiful focal piece. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate that. Penny is giving this many hearts, those like the emoji eye hearts. I love those. I use those all the time for things, but I think they're just so adorable in general. I want to give a special thanks to Joan for posting links for me for this video. Jennifer Miller is on, and she's saying this pendant, I am in love with this chunky pendant. Isn't it super cool? I'm in love with it too, and mustards for me are just like part of my soul color palette, I think, along with greens and teals. Those are like, for me, you can't go wrong with those colors. Okay. Well, I'm just delighted I got to spend some time with you. Hi, Emily from Motorcrafts. Miss Marianne Doy is here as well from Arizona. And Gabriella and Maria, lovely to see you ladies. Suzanne Brown, always in the front seat, I feel like, for a lot of my videos. Cindy and Maria over from YouTube. Hello, ladies. Lovely to see you. And Terry Schroeder is here as well. Teresa and Greta, can't have a video without you ladies. Always lovely to see your names pop in. And Miss Karen is here. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Lori says, absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Lori. This was such a fun design. This is such an easy design, and sometimes easy is great. So let me switch my views around so I can get a better look at you guys. Well, I can't really see you, but you know what I mean. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did teaching it, and I can't wait for our next class. It is gonna be so much fun. We are doing our poppies flower arrangement. I am just in love with this project and its kit. Looks like this. You get a pin frog, which I've got more on order because I know some of you ordered these kits and are still waiting on the shipment. But I should be getting those in today and getting it out to you guys very soon. And then you get all 5 feet. Well, really, I'll just go over the kit tonight. So you got to come back tonight at 5 Central Time, and I'll be back on live and showing how to do this demo piece. I'm getting distracted because there's a beautiful stray cat in my backyard right now. And it looks so lonely. I just want to give it a hug. Okay, I see shiny things and I get distracted. So I will see you guys again this evening, and I hope you are left here inspired, creative. Give your cat a hug for me, and I will see you at tonight's tutorial. Love all of you so much. Mwah. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, my business, all of my social media outlets as well. If you haven't checked out my YouTube and Instagram, please do so, and please follow me there. All right, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.